What's up everybody, Coach Mills here, coming at you with a brand new Valorant video, and in this video we got a lot of things to talk about. Well, you see, yesterday was a really big day for Valorant in general, where we got a brand new cinematic, which was absolutely amazing, and a lot of people not named Coach Mills got to play the brand new patch 1.15 early, so as such, we got to learn about all the big changes that are coming. So we got to break down nerfs to the classic pistol, nerf to Omen, buffs to Brimstone, and much more. So make sure you watch to the end so you don't miss out on any bit of this insane news. But go to the GameLeap website in the links down below for in-depth VODs, tips and tricks, map guides, agent courses. I mean, we got it all on the GameLeap website, so do yourself a favor, go check it out right now. But without further ado, let's jump into the video. So we've been asking for it again and again. We've been waiting, we've been hoping, pining, and I think we finally got it. Or did we? We got a classic pistol nerf, and I'm gonna break that down right here. I'm gonna play the clip, and then we're gonna talk about, is this nerf actually enough? Roll it. So yes, the classic pistol seems to have been nerfed, where subsequent shots has a lot bigger spread. That being said, I don't know if these are the only nerfs that are to the classic pistol. We're gonna have to wait and see the full patch notes, if there's any movement inaccuracies, jumping inaccuracies, or anything like that. But for now, this is a nerf, and it's gonna make it a little bit less consistent, but really, that still doesn't seem like it's enough, honestly. I mean, are we forgetting that the classic pistol doesn't cost any money? Like, it doesn't need to be one of the best guns in the game, and it doesn't need to be able to one-shot people from close range at full armor, especially while you're jumping, especially while you're moving, and I don't know if this is enough to do that. Maybe they'll tweak some of the damages with the right click or the jumping or anything like that. We don't know all that stuff yet, but for now, we do know that at least some of the spread got increased through subsequent firing. So honestly, after all that, I'm still left pretty disappointed when I think the classic pistol is still way overtuned, but maybe there's more to the story. We're gonna have to wait and see, but definitely let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. Now, next up, we gotta talk about the big controller changes. We've been talking about how they're most likely gonna change the controllers because there was just a huge imbalance in the role, with Omen having an 100% pick rate in pro play and Brimstone and Viper basically seeing no play. So they really took dramatic actual changes here to Omen and Brimstone. Now, first off, with the big Omen changes, first off, the smoke speed got decreased from 4,000 to almost half at 2,800. Now, this is a 30% decrease, and this is a really big deal, but I'm going to talk about it in a second. Then, the price of his Paranoia Flash got increased from 200 to 400, which is double the price. Now, let's talk about these changes one at a time. First off, with the Paranoia change. So first off, Omen typically had really cheap abilities in the first place, so the fact that this is buffed isn't going to break his character in a lot of the rounds, but the big round that it changes the most is his pistol round. You're either rocking that classic pistol plus armor, getting a Paranoia and no other abilities, which is probably really what people are going to be rocking, or you're going to be rocking a Ghost with no Paranoia, which just seems absolutely not something that anyone's going to do. So basically, you're stuck using that classic pistol plus armor, or you're just buying no armor and your abilities. But this $400 price tag can really add up over time, and you're going to have to be a little bit safer with how you just throw around Paranoia all the time. If you just throw it around every round, burning through that money, it could be a pretty big deal. Now, that being said, the biggest change in my opinion for Omen is that smoke speed decrease. And for those of you who don't really understand how this is gonna matter that much, you might be saying, oh, the smokes travel slower, so where does that actually matter in our games? Well, for attack, it's not gonna really matter that much. As long as your team wait to peak angles, yeah, you heard me right, wait to peak angles, you can always just smoke out of sight. You can make sure that the smokes actually get there before you commit onto a site, and there's not gonna be much changes in that regard, other than the fact that there's actually going to be a little bit less time for the smokes to be up, because you have to wait for one to travel, then the second one to travel, and then for both of them to pop up before you actually push. So it really kind of allows a little bit less uptime for that first smoke you throw out. But the real change and the real negative aspect of this is not on attack, it's on defense. I just released a freaking Omen guide. Yes, I revealed an Omen guide on the literal day that nerfs for him got revealed. Just my luck. But in that that video, I broke down how important it is for Omen to use his smokes defensively to alleviate pressure. If you're playing something like mid or even on A, let's say defensive haven, and someone's pushing on C, you can quickly throw a smoke to block off their entrance onto site and put pressure so they can't easily commit. And this is something that you need to always be looking out for, but because of the longer time, there is a lot less of a window to do so. And even if you're really quick on the smoke trigger, the enemies could already rush onto site before you can stop their push by using your smokes to put that pressure on them. So this really means that Omen is less of a catch-all, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if people start choosing Brimstone over Omen also, because Brimstone got a big buff that I'm going to cover right now. So let's talk about the smaller changes before we talk about the bigger changes. So first, his stim beacon has no quick cast now, so you don't whip out the ability and then need to throw it out. When you press the ability, it's an insta throw, so the stim beacon really just happens right away. Now, I really don't think that stim beacon's that good of an ability. In fact, I think it's one of the worst abilities in the game, with high-ranking players sometimes not even wanting the effect because it messes with your recoil and control and things like that. So while this is an okay quality of life change, it doesn't really matter. Now, talking about stuff that is a little bit more impactful, first off, we got to talk about the price decrease from his actual molly from 300 to 200, a 33% decrease, which is a nice change. Not gonna make or break the character by any means, but spending less on your abilities is definitely a plus in my book. Now, the last thing that we need to talk about, and the most impactful of all these abilities, is his smoke changes. So first off, the range got increased from 4,200 to 5,000, which is really gonna help Brimstone on defense in particular, because he severely lacks up against Omen, who can put those smokes exactly where he wants to, even across the map, to alleviate pressure. And now Brimstone can do that to a similar extent as well, because his smokes actually have quite a bit of added range, and especially when Omen is nerfed in this regard, Brimstone is looking better. But that isn't the last change. The last change is his smoke duration increase from 14.25 seconds to 19.25 seconds. Damn, Brimstone has an almost 20-second smoke? What in the freaking world? Now, a lot of people speculated that Brimstone was going to get a fourth smoke, and they didn't do that, but they just gave Brimstone the longest smoke I could possibly imagine, and it really stays up a freaking long time, much longer than any other smoke in the game. Now, the longer the smoke is, the more powerful it is. It's pretty simple in that regard, and it actually gets exponentially powerful the longer and longer it lasts. And this really just makes Brimstone one of the best controllers in the game, in my personal opinion. I honestly think that this new Brimstone would be able to compete with Omen even if he didn't receive any nerfs at all. But because Omen received some specific nerfs targeting his eco, his pistol rounds, and just playing him on defense in general, Brimstone is actually looking primed to be the best controller going forward. And while I'm pretty salty that this happened because I just picked up and have been grinding Omen, I'm not too surprised that they actually nerfed Omen in some big way, because he just had such a high pick rate, even if I am still a little bit salty about it. And Brimstone is looking to be the de facto best controller going forward. I'm also kind of sad that we didn't see any big Viper changes, because I do think that she needs either a rework or some big buffs, but hopefully we'll see some big changes to her along with a new controller agent the next time we get an agent in the second act of episode 2. But for now, I'm really interested in how these changes are going to affect the meta going forward. But as usual, I really want to know your opinion about all these crazy changes in the comments down below. Now, moving on, we got to talk about a brand new Run It Back bundle, which is a new bundle that is actually going to be cheaper than normal bundles, but still really freaking expensive, Riot. But I really do like this idea where it brings together a smattering of different skins from a lot of different skin sets and puts them together in a nice little package. And I would love to see them doing this in the future, because eventually, at some point, we're going to see the Prime Classic in here, and I'm 100% going to snag that up, because if I get the Prime Classic with some skins I don't have, I think that will be good enough for me. But next up, we got to talk about the competitive changes being hinted for patch 1.15, where the man himself, Valorant Leaks on Twitter, released a Twitter statement kind of suggesting that there will be competitive changes. For those of you who don't know, this is an amazing leaker that really reveals a lot of things about Valorant in general, but I guess to keep a few things under wraps, they actually allowed the Valorant Leaks guy himself to go test the game early, so he can't leak everything. Maybe he's under an NDA or something like that. I have no idea. idea, but he still hints that there are going to be big competitive changes, which a lot of us have been asking for, a lot of us have been hinted to, so we're just gonna have to wait and see, and I'm extremely excited about competitive changes. How about you? Let me know. Now, the last thing that we need to talk about is Yoru. With a lot of the big gameplay coming out about this insane new agent, we got to learn a lot of things about the character, and first off, I wanted to talk about the cinematic, where if you haven't seen it, you gotta go watch it after this video, because it's really well made and extremely fire, if I'm being honest, and you would do yourself a favor to go watch it. But moving on to Yoru information, something in the cinematic was just Cypher kind of getting bodied by Yoru, which is something that actually kind of relates to how Yoru is going to play in game, because something that a lot of people don't know is the footsteps of Yoru, specifically up against Sentinel characters like Killjoy and like Cypher, have some interesting interactions. For instance, if a trap is low enough, a trap wire that is, the Yoru walk ability will actually trigger trap wire, which is something that is really interesting, but it does have a low hitbox according to Riot dev Atombre, so that means that if it's at a high enough height, it won't trigger it at all. The next thing that it actually does is a lot of the utility of Killjoy actually gets triggered by the ability of Yoru. So the Killjoy turret, from my understanding, will actually fire at the Yoru steps, which might really confuse a Killjoy when she sees her turret firing and she assumes that enemies are there when no one really is, and you can set this up for future engages where you really catch her off guard by tricking her by her turret firing at a fake amount of footsteps while you actually flank the real Killjoy. You can see how Yoru becomes just a crazy hindrance to any other Sentinel player in the entire game. I don't know about you, but I cannot wait to play this character, and next time, Riot, let me get my hands on the character a little bit early, you know what I'm saying? But go to the GameLeap website in the links down below for in-depth advanced VODs, tips and tricks, map guides, agent courses. I mean, we got it on the GameLeap website, so do yourself a favor, go check it out in the links down below. But thank you so much for coming by. I hope you learned something and you're excited about patch 1.15. That's all I got for you today. I'm Coach Mills. I love your faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.